Welcome to Finding God, which is the hope during these days, and I suppose every day. Finding God during the times of COVID. Today is the 26th day of February. And as we've discussed before, in some ways it's about finding God, and in some ways it's about God finding us. Especially during the season of Lent, it's these 40 days that lead up to Easter. One of the themes is exactly this work, allowing God to find us and working through this question of who we are in light of being God's people. This last week I went to the dentist and I got the report that I almost always get. It goes like this. Oh, your teeth look like they're in pretty good shape. You have brushing and flossing? Yes, I say. Well, looks like you don't have any cavities, because at 52 I've never had a cavity, which is primarily a product of genetics, so grateful to the givers of my genetics. And then they usually say, oh my, there's a lot of plaque buildup. Then she usually says, I guess that's my job security right there, and asks if I mind the ultrasonic plaque remover, which isn't particularly comfortable, but hey, it's part of the process, I suppose. Maybe it's something like the season of Lent, the process of, little by little, chipping away the plaque that builds up over the course of a year or 6 months, as the case may be. Some of if we're going to use the metaphor, some of the plaque that builds up in the Christian tradition is referred to as the false self, which is the part of us, part of our personality, our self, that has built up as a result of encounters and experiences with the world. And they could be from the earliest days, and you don't get picked for the team in elementary school, or when people say hurtful things and the tears start to well up within you, but instead of letting them come out, you press them down, lodge them away somewhere in your heart or soul or mind. And as a result, we build up patterns of ways of dealing, coping, we might say, which serve us well in some ways or at some level. And in other ways, they completely stifle our living as authentic people or as children of God, we might say. The false self develops and we access it or use it as a way of dealing. And Richard Rohr says that ultimately the false self, it gets us the booby prize in life, but not the abundance. And so in the Christian tradition, there are at least a couple of phrases that come to mind that speak to this question of the undoing, the overcoming, maybe the transformation of the false self. One of those shows up in the story of Nicodemus, who's a chief within the religious community. And he's told by Jesus that you won't see the kingdom of God unless you are born again. Like that phrase gets used, which means multiple things to multiple people. But this idea of being born again is connected to these themes of this transformation, becoming that true self, recognizing Christ dwelling within us, the essential truth of our lives. The second phrase that is used in the Christian tradition is crucifying ourselves with Christ, so dying with Christ, which in the metaphor that we're using today, it's the dying of the old self, that part of us that's jaded or has so much built up around us, or has put such a high and strong and functional wall between us and other people. And the same thing that serves us well is the thing which keeps us from our freedom. So perhaps Lent is like this trip to the dentist to chip away at the plaque that's built up and inviting us into a more open and free experience of God with us. Because one of the things that happens is God serves notice that the old ways, the false self, isn't working for us anymore. And it's an invitation to a new way. So just for a couple of moments, you can have your eyes open or closed. You might think of things or patterns in our life that we've consciously or unconsciously allowed to build up that protect us, but that in the end restrict our freedom. There might be something from yesterday, might be something from a decade ago, or nearly a lifetime ago. But is there some way, as you call it to mind or to your heart, some way that God might work a new thing in that? Some way that you might be born again, or that old part of you that we might wish it a good death, so that a new part might come to life from its ashes. Such is the work of the Spirit in the season of Lent. Blessings on your day.